report.
The Communist Party has officially banned anyone under the age of 18 from having any formal religious affiliation. Kids cannot go to Sunday school, Christian summer camps, or engage in any kind of religious education. Public schools in China deliver a steady diet of atheism, and students pledge allegiance to the CCP. It's all part of an effort to keep future generations from coming to Christ, an effort which appears to be failing as Christianity continues to grow in the giant country. Michael Harrington, SRN News.
Hamas's attack on Israel this month is liable to depress tourism to Israel this holiday season, even if the fighting ends before December. Hanukkah begins on December 7th this year, and Christmas will follow. Israel counts on millions of tourist dollars every year, and the holiday period is the most lucrative season, with Jews and Christians from around the world flocking to the Holy Land to mark the occasion. This is SRN News. What's in your wallet?
About 2 in 3 Americans say their household expenses have risen over the last year, but only about 1 in 4 say their incomes increased in the same period. That's according to a new poll from the Associated Press NORC Center for Public Affairs Research. Households are finding expenses outpacing earnings, with many expressing concern about their financial futures. About half say they currently have credit card debt, 4 in 10 are dealing with auto loans, and about 1 in 4 have medical debt. Just 15% say their savings have increased over the last year. Rhonda Rockstra reporting.
General Motors and Jeep makers Stellantis are meeting with United Auto Workers bargainers to see if they can reach a contract agreement that mirrors a deal signed with crosstown rival Ford. Nearly 17,000 striking workers at Ford left the picket lines when the agreement was announced Wednesday night, and they are set to return to work shortly. About 57,000 Ford workers still have to vote on the tentative deal. You'll find more on these stories at srnnews.com.
The following program is sponsored by the law offices of Patrick L. Smith. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. Get ready with your legal questions and call Patrick now, 877-943-9673. Again, that's 877-943-9673. The law office is open. And now your host, Patrick Smith.
Good Saturday morning, Florida, and welcome to a thriller edition of the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. As this will be our Halloween spooktacular of the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. So feel free to call in with your scariest legal questions this Saturday. 877-943-9673. 877-943-9673. That's your live and toll-free line to reach me, Attorney Patrick Smith. For those of you who are new listeners to the program, first of all, welcome. We're happy to have each and every one of you, and I'm blown away every week at how many people take the time to send messages or call the office and say that they love the show and listen every week, and I love all the stories about what you guys are up to while you're listening to the show, and I appreciate the faithful listenership, but there's always room for more listeners. So thank you, new listeners. For those of you who are new, the way the show works, you call in with your legal questions, and in between your calls, we talk about whatever I want. And we always have a wide variety planned for you and an action-packed show planned for you today. 877-943-9673. That's your number to be part of today's broadcast. Jose, the call screener, standing by to screen your call and get you live on the air. 877-943-9673. So give us a call now. We'll get you and your legal question right on the air, and everyone else will benefit from hearing me give you the very best answer that we can live over the air. You can also email your question, Patrick at attorneypatricksmith.com. Lots of you availing yourselves of that option. And you can also submit the question directly through the website, attorneypatricksmith.com. That's also your one spot to stop and go back and listen to any prior broadcast of the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. So if you want to go back and revisit any show, you can listen on demand by going to attorneypatricksmith.com, scrolling down and clicking on the radio link. So, but to be part of today's show, we'd love to talk to you. 877-943-9673, and we will be happy to help you in your legal question as best we can. So I wanted to start off the show with a couple of follow-ups to last week's show. As we were talking last week, a couple of questions came up that sort of stumped us in the interim. And like I've said numerous times throughout the history of the show, we have zero shame saying, I don't know on this broadcast. But our promise to you, our listeners, is that we will go out and get the very best answers that we can for you live on the air. So we've done some additional research this week, and a question came in last week where we were addressing the issue of child support. And the particular issue that came up was whether or not there was any sort of statute of limitations on child support. And for those of you who are new to the broadcast, my day-to-day practice area is primarily estate planning, wills, trust, asset protection. And I will give out the office line if you're interested in scheduling an appointment for doing that later in the show. But for those of you who aren't familiar, we talk about lots of different areas of law that I kind of brush up against in my wills and trust practice. And occasionally a question arises, like the one that arose last Saturday, where it was a very specific type of family law question. And that particular question centered around whether or not there was any statute of limitations with regards to child support. And we actually have a special guest joining us live now. Let's welcome to the show, for the first time ever, attorney Ed Emmerich. Ed, welcome to the show. Ed, do we have you? All right. Ed, you there, buddy?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, buddy, we can hear you now. So Ed, go ahead and introduce yourself to the listeners. Tell them a little bit about your practice so everyone can understand why you're calling in as a special guest to address this family law question.
All right. My name is Ed Emmerich. I am a marital and family law attorney practicing out of my office in Claremont, Florida. I represent people from coast to coast in Central Florida. I don't really go further south than Polk County or further north than Marion, but I do represent people in Highlands and Pinellas County all the way over to Volusia and Brevard. My practice focuses on, namely, at least contested family law issues such as divorce, child custody, and then we have a pretty healthy prenuptial and postnuptial agreement practice. So that's kind of the areas that I focus on. I've been practicing exclusively family law for about 7 years now, and I am in the process of getting board certified in that area.
Well, congratulations on that, Ed, and that's terrific news, and we wish you the best of luck with that. If you have a family law question for Ed, now would be the time to call in, because I'll try to get him to stay on the line to maybe take a family law question or two in addition to the one he's going to answer as a follow-up for us from last week's broadcast. So if you want to ask Ed a family law question, 877-943-9673, 877-943-9673. So Ed, you were very gracious. I reached out this past week to you and said, hey, this question came into the show. I don't know the answer. And the question, of course, was whether or not there is any sort of statute of limitations to child support. And you had the answer right away. So I'll just turn the floor over to you and let you give the best answer you can to that question.
So child support is kind of there's more to it than just whether or not there's a statute of limitations. You're not going to look through the Florida statutes and find something that specifically says that after X period of time, you can no longer see child support. You're not going to find something that specifically says that your child support, if it has been ordered, expires after a certain period of time. You have to, in my experience, what I've found and through the case law, which you'll find, is that generally speaking, once a child has already turned 18, what happens is the person that can seek child support changes. So that's the first thing. And then after that time frame, once the child has after the child's 18, the person that seeks child support, the person in interest, the person that will file the lawsuit, changes from the parent to the child. And so after the child gets the right to seek that child support on their own behalf, generally they only have about a year or two, according to the case law in the state of Florida, to try and collect that child support. Now, there's also the issue of a circumstance where the child support has already been ordered. And that's the issue that's a little bit more common. You know, I've seen people and represented people from other states that have come to Florida that have these old child support judgments. And a lot of the time they think they've paid them or they have paid them. And then there's some mix up in the system. And that's one of the places that I see a little bit more of this, hey, I have this old child support judgment. My kids are 40. Why would I still be paying this? The mom shouldn't get this money at this point, or the dad shouldn't get the money at this point. The kids certainly aren't going to get it. And isn't the purpose of child support to benefit the children?
Well, that's my understanding, is that the poll star in most family law cases, any point dealing with the child, it's what we call the best interest of the child standard, is my understanding. But that's an estate planning attorney's perspective on this, Ed. Is that right?
So that's a large portion of it. Now, there's technical aspects of things, but yes, the best interest of the children are supposed to be the primary considerations in just about any child-related family law circumstance. Now, once you already have a child support order, the premise would be that the best interest of the children have already been considered by some court somewhere. And that's how you got to the child support order in the first place. That's not necessarily always true, but that's the circumstance that we're dealing with after that order's in place. And then one of the things that I've had some success doing is having these child support orders reduced or set aside based on principles of equity and fairness. And so, like, sometimes when you have a super old one, I can go before the judge on an appropriate motion, and we can say, Your Honor, this is a very old judgment, or my client's financial circumstances have changed, or, the child is of such an age that paying this kind of defeats the purpose, or they've already paid it in some way, and there's been some kind of mix-up.
Well, and as I understand it, when you go in to modify any sort of marital agreement, you sort of have the potential of opening Pandora's box, where one side says, hey, I want to modify things. The other side says, you know what? We agree. Things do need to be modified, but here's how we think they should be modified. How much of that is a concern when it comes to child support cases?
So I'm mainly the circumstances I was talking about are mainly old judgments where the child's already an adult. If the child's not an adult, then you're exactly right. What's going to happen is you say, okay, I want to reduce my child support. I'm tired of paying the amount that I'm paying, whatever circumstance has arisen, and I don't want to pay that much anymore. Well, I have to prove that there's been a substantial change in circumstances in order to do so. That substantial change can be a reduction in my income. It can be an increase in the other side's income. Maybe I'm taking more time sharing than I was ordered to take. Maybe I'm not. But oftentimes, when you file a modification of child support or something of that nature, the other side's going to turn around and say exactly what you said. We agree. There has been a substantial change in circumstances. And now that we agree on that, we think that things should be changed to reflect the following.
Yeah, and that's where the lawyers go to work, is there in that mix, so to speak. So, Ed, we appreciate you calling in and doing the deep dive for us on child support. If people want to reach out to you and sort of in the privacy of a consultation with you, how would they get a hold of you?
So I have a couple of different methods. We run a pretty cloud-based law firm, so we have a lot of different electronic methods of getting in touch with us. If you go to emmerichfamilylaw.com, you'll be able to put an inquiry in and just put a message through to us on that site. You can also call in at 352-663-8605, and we have folks ready to help anybody that has any type of questions. And even if we don't have the answer to the question, we've been lucky enough to create relationships with people like Patrick, and we can put you in touch with someone that can help you.
Yeah, Ed and his staff are extremely friendly. We often, will refer clients by just walking them over. Our Claremont offices are in extremely close proximity, and your friendly staff's always there to greet them with a smile and get them the help that they need. How long have we known each other, Ed?
I think we first met. I called you on a probate issue that had some family law aspects to it. I want to say 6 or 7 years ago.
Yeah, I know it's been a while.
We had lunch, and you helped me out with that issue and how that could affect these person's divorce at the time.
That's how I know it's been a while, because that was back when I had time to go to a lunch in the middle. And Peter's chuckling because we were just talking about how busy the calendar is now. And the idea of getting me out of the office in the middle of the day for a lunch meeting is just laughable. But Ed, we appreciate you. And if anybody missed Ed's information, I'll give out my office information. You can always call my office and I'll always be happy to pass along Ed Emmerich's information. Attorney Ed Emmerich joining us to do a follow-up segment on last week's child support question and about the specific of a statute of limitations on any child support. Ed, we appreciate you. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. You going to be watching a ball game about 3:30?
You know I will be.
All right, buddy.
I've got my Gator shirt, my Gator shoes on.
All right, man.
I'm head to toe.
All right. Well, hey, the Gators won last night in baseball 7-5 against Georgia in the exhibition game up in Jacksonville. So hopefully
Just
that
getting
bodes
started.
well. Yeah, that's right. Hopefully it bodes well for today. So Ed, appreciate you. Have a great Saturday.
You too.
All right, bye-bye. Ladies and gentlemen, Attorney Ed Emmerich, practicing marital law attorney, and we appreciate Ed taking the time to call in. If you have a question this morning, this is Attorney Patrick Smith, and you're listening to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show, 877-943-9673, 877-943-9673. And before we do our next follow-up segment on last week's show, I want to go to Jack, a very patient Jack in Tampa. Jack, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show, and thank you for your patience.
Well, thank you. And my question is on a credit collection agency. I got a notice from a collection agency for a medical bill that I've already paid. And I'm going through all the common sense things of going back to the creditor and all that. But it's a nightmare because they keep referring me to another, well, yeah, we used to collect that bill, but now it's this person. And it just keeps going on and on. So my question is, if I can't get it resolved, what can I sue them for? Because they're trying to collect twice.
Well, I mean, the specific cause of action, there's an attorney that I worked with years ago who used to be a regular guest on the show. And maybe it's time, I'll reach out to Joe Weaver this week and see if maybe we can book this gentleman. He was a controversial I guess would be the way to describe it, because he liked to start the show when we do a show on debt collections. He would like to start by mentioning to debt collectors how much he despised them. And he would like to offer any debt collector listening the chance to call in so that he could personally tell them over the air how much he disliked them. So that was sort of the tone of the show when he was on. And it definitely had an atypical feel to the show, in my opinion. But one of the things he would say, it sounds like you're already doing a lot of the things that he would say about send the letter, I dispute the debt, please verify, the typical response. And as far as a cause of action, I know there's certain federal guidelines where if they're making calls to your cell phone, there can be possible causes of action there. So as far as anything beyond that, you would have to speak directly to a debtor-creditor attorney. And if you want to reach out to the office this week, Jack, I'll pass you along a couple names and numbers you can call for consultations, and they can sort of lay out, based on your very specific facts, the intimacies of which you probably don't want to get into over the air, but you can do that in the privacy of a consultation with a debtor-creditor attorney. And they will tell you what causes of action are available to you and what the likelihood of successes are based on those various causes of action as lined up with your particular set of facts.
Okay. What, can you tell me the number?
The office line is 877-754-6764. If you call me at that office line, that's my office line. I'll have to look up and I'll give you the couple names and numbers of a couple debtor creditor attorneys who will be happy to assist you. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome, Jack. Thanks for listening to the show.
Bye.
All righty. 877-943-9673. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show, and I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith. We're live today, Saturday, October 28th. And we will be with you for about another 30 minutes-ish or so to answer your legal questions. 877-943-9673. If you're just joining us, we will be doing a Peter the Intern update later in the show. Peter the Intern has prepared a segment for the show, a follow-up piece to an issue we've touched on previously regarding the homeowners insurance crisis plaguing the great state of Florida. But speaking of homes and real estate, as a follow-up to last week's show, we also had another question that came in regarding specifically whether or not you had to be licensed to sell real estate, specifically in the form of timeshares in the state of Florida. And the answer, thank you to Angie Sheridan, our local realtor, for the assist on this one. According to Florida Statute 721, Section 20, any seller of timeshare plans must be a licensed real estate broker, broker associate, or sales associate as defined in Florida statute. So that is the answer. You must be licensed or one of those three within that statute in order. So you can't just sell timeshares if you're Joe Schmo walking around on the street. So another follow-up piece from last week's broadcast. And speaking of realtors and real estate, we did have a call last week from the show. We had a young lady by the name of Dawn who called in and brought to our attention the lawsuit against the National Association of Realtors. We are all working very hard. The interns have been working hard all week, as have I, lining up guests. We're currently actively trying to confirm everybody, hopefully attempting to do a piece on the lawsuit regarding the National Association of Realtors as early as next week. And it's also developing in real time because the lawsuit is actually in trial right now. It started October 16th, according to the initial research, and it's ongoing. So we will hopefully have a very soon future broadcast regarding the National Association of Realtors lawsuits, kind of explaining, and then we should hear from at least representatives from each side, kind of explaining their positions. And of course, we will be taking your calls if you have questions about that. So stay tuned for more good information about the current litigation regarding the National Association of Realtors. If you have a legal question this morning, 877-943-9673, 877-943-9673. Peter, before we do your follow-up piece, go ahead and look up. I have a speaking engagement this week, but I can't remember when and where, and I want to promote it wherever it is. So if you'll pull the details on that, so I'll just let you do it when you do your segment. 877-943-9673, 877-943-9673 to be part of today's show. I'm attorney Patrick Smith, and this is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. And before we go to Peter the intern with his homeowners insurance crisis update, let's go to Clearwater and talk to Charles. Charles, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show.
Hello, thank you. I'm a first-time listener, and certainly I appreciate you taking my call.
Well, Charles, welcome to the family. We're always happy to have first-time listeners. How can we help you today?
Well, last week, I got to go back about 12 years. My girlfriend, husband had passed away 12 years ago, and a particular banking institution had his name on an account and had ignored the fact that he had been dead for the last 12 years. Starting in May, she started to receive letters about his indebtitude to this particular institution. And the letters continued. She's a woman of age. She's 74 years old, and it started to affect her. She started to be depressed, anxiety, heart palpitations, etc. So we were looking on Google and a few other browsing sites to find an attorney. And the problem was that we didn't know we needed a specific, what they call litigation civil attorney. And we were on the phone for 8 hours on one day between the two of us, trying to detract what we could do. Now, the indebtitude was less than the amount of money to have a cease and desist order by some attorneys. So we finally was able to find somebody. But my question is, why is it that the attorneys now are become more and more specialized, almost like doctors? If you go to an orthopedic, he may specialize in foot care over just regular arms, bones, and this type of thing.
Whoa!
And
Charles.
how as we as private citizens can tell the difference, what we really need.
There's no need to compare us to doctors, Charles. I mean, come on. We were getting along so great. And the question was going, I'm just kidding. We love all our medical professional listeners out there, and I represent quite a few physicians. I think it's really more a commentary on just the needs of the populace. I think certain areas are becoming so popular as far as the need that if you're an attorney who practices a particular area, it's so overwhelming with business right now that you can just practice in that area. So if you can be up to speed on just one area of law, I think that's the opportunity it affords you. So that's what I think is the answer. It's just a matter of, kind of see where the growth and the demand is. I still know plenty of attorneys who do general practice and kind of do whatever the colloquialism for that is threshold law, whatever walks across the threshold, they do it. So I still see that. I think it's just a matter of making sure that, the same reason with a physician, you wouldn't go to a podiatrist for a heart issue.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And
so-
that's what my concern is because as a let's say a layman in the law field, how do we know who to specialize in or who to turn to when Google and these search engines don't put their specializations on the and we no longer have phone books or anything. So
Well, we
where
still
do we
have,
turn?
yeah, we still have phone books because I advertise in them. So I know that
Oh, okay.
they do exist. They are relics, and it's something that you can show your grandchildren and say, look, these used to exist, like payphones. Now, at the end of the day, I think there are several things you can do. And number one, and this is a great question. So I need an attorney. I need to find someone who practices in this type of law. How do I find that attorney? Number one, you can always call us, Charles. We're happy to be a resource for you. If I don't do it, I know attorneys that do, and I'll be happy to introduce you and put you in contact with them. Number two, ask your friends and family. Odds are one of them has had a relationship with some type of attorney. If you ask around, you'll find one. You can always reach out directly to the Florida Bar Association, tell them the particular type of attorney you're looking for. And then you can also just, like you said, let your fingers do the walking. Break out the phone book, start calling attorneys, set up consultations with the ones that offer complimentary consultations. Sit down with them, get a feel for their feel of the case and your comfort level with them, and just do good old-fashioned research. So all of those are available options to you, Charles.
I appreciate that. Thank you for your time, and certainly I'll try to I'll definitely keep your phone number on hand. So if I have any issues or somebody else of my colleagues have issues, then I can refer them to you as well.
Well, Charles, are you and your 74-year-old girlfriend doing anything fun today?
Yes, we're going to make a dinner for some of our residents, and I live in an apartment complex, and we're going to have a dinner for some of them.
You're hosting it. What are you making?
It's a chicken casserole with using Ritz crackers and a variety of other spices.
And what time should we show up?
5:30, sir. Yes, please. You're more than welcome to come. And further information, I am blind.
Wow.
So it'll be a challenge.
Well, Charles, good luck to you. And I'd be happy to take you up on that invitation, but I actually do have prior engagements. But you're very kind and welcoming, and welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show family. And don't be a stranger to the show. Call us anytime you have a question, okay?
Thank you, sir. Again, have a blessed day.
You too, Charles. Enjoy that dinner. 877-943-9673. That's your live and local to be part of today's show. Give us a call now. Jose, the call screener, standing by, actively screening calls as we speak. And Yumiko, the producer, standing by to be Yumiko. So actually, we have something very special to announce today. Yumiko. Are you there, Yumiko?
Yes.
Hello,
I'm here.
Yumiko.
Hi.
Okay. Put down your phone.
Okay.
Stop talking to people. I'm just kidding. She's not, Joe, if you're listening, she's not talking to anybody. Yumiko, what was yesterday?
My 1 year anniversary here.
1 year anniversary producing the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. My favorite part was how your post didn't mention the show at all. So thank you so much for that, Yumiko. That was very special. And a special congratulations. You know, Yumiko has been a fantastic producer for the show. A lot of shows you don't hear Yumiko, you don't notice Yumiko. And that just means she's a great producer, because producers are just sort of there. And if they're quiet and you don't notice them, that means they're doing an excellent job. And that's no joke, folks. It is very much like, you know, when you watch a duck sort of coast across the surface of the lake, it looks calm and relaxing, but beneath that surface, there's a flurry of activity, and Yumiko is the mitochondria of that activity. So happy 1 year anniversary, Yumiko. And we appreciate you and look forward to at least one more year with, I'm just kidding.
I appreciate you as well.
By the way, those of you out there on the Bone, we did officially, I think yesterday. So those of you who listen on the Bone, hopefully you like the show. I just signed a 2-year extension with my Bone contract. So we got at least 2 more years of putting up with me, Bone listeners. And we enjoy and appreciate all of the listeners on 102.5, the Bone, home of real raw radio. 877-943-9673 to be part of today's show. And before we go to Ray in Sarasota, let's turn it over to Peter, the intern first. Peter, go ahead. When is my speaking engagement? When, where, what are the details on that? And then your update on homeowners insurance.
Your speaking engagement is this upcoming Friday, November 3rd in Kings Ridge and Claremont, and that is at 10 a.m.
So Friday, Kings Ridge, Claremont. So this is one of our quarterly ones we do there in the Monte Carlo room. There's one, I think there's another one, though. Check Thursday.
There's one on Thursday. It's Rob Detchick seminar.
Rob DeChick. Yeah, Detchick. That's funny. Rob DeChick with Cortland Walker Financial. That's 2:00 Thursday.
Yes, 2
and that's
o'clock on
also
Thursday.
in Claremont.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so 2:00 Thursday, Claremont, and Friday also in Claremont, but at Kings Ridge at the Monte Carlo Room. If you want details, if you're in the Claremont area and you want to attend, I think the Kings Ridge one is private for Kings Ridge residents only, but I know the Rob DeChick one on Thursday at 2 is open to the public. So if you want more information or if you need a speaker, you can reach out to our office and book us. We do not charge any per diem for our speaking engagements. That number to reach us at the office, 877-754-6764. Again, to get more information on these upcoming speaking engagements or to book us to speak at one of your clubs, groups, organizations, churches we speak at quite frequently, as you're well aware. And you can also call that number to schedule your appointment in Sun City Center, which is by far the barn doors are blowing off the popularity of St. Peter. Was just telling me about that when he was booking appointments yesterday. 877-754-6764 to schedule your appointment. Sun City Center, Sarasota, Clearwater, Claremont, any of our office locations. That one toll-free number, 877-754-6764. All right, Peter the intern, thank you for that update on my speaking engagements. Now your update on the homeowners insurance crisis plaguing the great state of Florida before we go to Ray and then Marcia.
So this is a update for anybody that has Citizens homeowners insurance. Citizens is, for the people that don't know, is a Florida owned and run not-for-profit insurance company, which is supposed to be a last resort insurance company for Florida residents, but has since turned into where most people are flocking to, since it is substantially cheaper than any other private network insurance company. A couple things. One, Citizens Insurance is about one big storm away from going under and not being able to cover everyone that is underneath its blanket of coverage. And number two, if you get a letter from Citizens, when I worked in, this area, this line of work, a lot of people would get these letters from Citizens and just toss them out, but it is a depopulation letter. If you get that letter, make sure you read it and make sure you go on the site and make your choice if you want to stay with Citizens or go with a private network company. They send you these letters, and it's like, we know that your current Citizens premium is $2,000 a year, but here's slide insurance for $10,000, or here's Florida Peninsula for $16,000. And if you don't make that choice to stay with Citizens, then they're just going to instantly dump you onto that other private, insurance company, and then you can't go back to the state's insurance for about 3 years. So make sure you read those. Make sure you go on the site and make that choice before the deadline so that you don't get, triple premium coverage.
So I will tell you this, a lot of the insurance companies, when you were sending out their new premiums and it was 30, 40, sometimes 50% premium increases, the sort of tone of it was, and be glad we didn't cancel you. And it sounds to me like what you're saying is, Citizens is sort of the insurance of last resort if they couldn't get insurance anywhere else. And so it's not so much that they're flocking there. It's more like they're seeking asylum there because it's the last resort. So the moral of your story is make sure you read those letters. Don't ignore them. Otherwise, it could really hit you in the pocketbook. Mm-hmm. Yeah, good advice, Peter the intern. We appreciate it. 877-943-9673. That's your toll-free number to be part of today's show. 877-943-9673. Before we get to Justia's weird laws of Halloween, which will be our next segment, let's go to a couple of other very patient callers. First, we'll start with Raymond in Sarasota. Raymond, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show.
Thank you, sir. Good morning.
Good morning. How can we help you today?
It seems that I have been disenrolled from my beautiful, wonderful Medicare program and placed into a major insurance company's Advantage program without my knowledge, permission, or whatever.
Well, I love the fact that you refer to your Medicare program as beautiful and wonderful and have this great love affair with Medicare. I've never seen that before, Raymond, and I think it's refreshing that you're so appreciative and have such gratitude towards it. I'm sorry to hear the unexpected disenrollment from Medicare, and you said you were enrolled in Advantage.
An Advantage Medicare program that is far less, costs more and far less than I was getting. I had no cost whatsoever with my original one, and it was given to me. I'm retired from the city of New York, and the program was given to me and 250,000 other Medicare recipients. And it seems, however, that Aetna got hold of me somehow without my permission and just, I was at the doctor's office on the 10th of October, and our office manager came out and says, I'm getting mixed messages here. I got your regular Medicare insurance and this Advantage program, and they're both claiming you. And she says, I don't know what to do. So that started my search, and it seems that on October 1st, that this company took over my Medicare and put me in an Advantage program.
Okay, Raymond, let me ask you this. So, are you able to drive to Sun City Center by chance?
Well, I know where it is. I got my my wife and I picked up our regular. I forget the name of it. We went up there to see Joe Pippin back in the years. I think it was in 08 or something like that, But I know where it is. I'm not able to. I would have to get a ride there.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what. You can probably just make a phone call. I'll give out the office line. The reason why I bring it up, Tom and Robin Pant, the owners of Pant Wealth Management there, we share office space with them. And I see these flyers in their lobby about their Medicare seminars that they do. And I believe the young lady who runs those is named Marcy. So if you give me a call at the office, I will do my best to get you in touch with them so that you can get the best answer to that very specific Medicare question and hopefully get some peace of mind. And then call us back when you have that answer and give me a follow-up on sort of what that answer was and how everything turned out.
Yeah, and Mr. Smith, time is of the essence here.
Sure. Give me a call on Monday. I'll put you in touch with them right away, Ray. I can completely appreciate the anxiety that you must be feeling.
Oh, it's terrible. It's terrible. The number, please.
Yeah, my office line is 877-754-6764. Just call that office line after 8 a.m. on Monday. I'll put you in touch with them right away and do the very best we can to get you that peace of mind regarding your Medicare debacle, Ray, okay?
I appreciate it very much. Have a good day.
You too, Ray. We'll say a prayer for you. Try to relax, okay?
Thank you so much. I'm doing plenty of them myself.
Good. All right. It makes a difference, Ray. Have a great day. 877-943-9673. 877-943-9673. That's your live and local number to be part of today's show. Open phone lines. Ray hanging up does open up a line. 877-943-9673 for those of you who have been trying to get through. Let's go now to Sebring and talk to Marcia. Marcia, how's Highlands counting this morning?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing fine. You're listening on The Bone. I didn't know 102.5 reached Highlands County. That's wonderful.
Yes, I love it.
Oh, well, thanks for listening. How can we help?
My question is, my mom passed away 8 years ago, and my oldest brother is the executor of her will, and she had a living will. And if you look up her property, it says her name, and then it says in living trust all four of her children. My brother was supposed to sell the home, and of course, split the proceeds with the four of us. He instead has not even filed her death certificate that we know of, and is letting my brother, one of my siblings, live in the home. And my sister and I are very upset about it. We want to know what we could do.
You said your mother died 8 years ago?
8 years ago.
Oh, I'm sorry about your mom, even though it's been 8 years, Marcia. I know that's hard. So my best answer to that would be, did your brother ever hire counsel, or did he sort of go pro se and do all the trust administration on his own?
He's done absolutely nothing.
Okay. So there are certain things trustees have to do. And, the typical thing is within 60 days, they send out what we call notice packets to the beneficiaries, letting them know that you're a beneficiary to the estate. They're entitled to a copy of the trust. As a matter of custom, we go ahead and put a copy in there, because if I tell you you're a beneficiary of a trust and you're entitled to a copy of the trust and I don't put it in there, what's the first thing you're going to ask me for, Marcia?
I have no idea.
A copy of the trust. You want to see what you're getting. I mean, that's most people's logic.
True.
It sounds like he's handled things sort of informally, and you may be able to press him a little bit on that, but we can give you a complimentary consultation, kind of going over what he has done, what he hasn't done. And then maybe if he is not represented by counsel, just send him directly a letter saying, look, you may or may not have been aware that this is supposed to have been done. And you can be really, gentle with the letter. It doesn't have to be, charging in with the saber out and you're ready to go to war. You can just say, look, you may or may not have been aware grieving the loss of a mother's tough, but these things need to be addressed. How quickly do you plan to address them? And then sort of give him a chance to do the right thing and see what the response is. It's sort of that sonar strategy we talk about so often on the show, where it's not what you send out, it's what bounces back that tells you everything. So if you get a letter back from brother saying, my bad, I totally didn't realize these things needed to be done, I'm going to get with a lawyer right away and get it taken care of. That's what you want. And if you get some other response, then you respond accordingly. But give the office a call. We'll get you set up for a consultation to make sure that you get the best advice and craft that letter either yourself or through counsel to your brother.
Okay. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Marsha, have a great Saturday, okay?
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All righty. 877-943-9673. That's your live and local number to be part of today's show. Now for our weird laws of Halloween, according to Justia. The following is a list of the odd and the obscure laws regarding Halloween. And that's why we're getting the next batch of calls queued up. Did you know, Peter the intern, that you could actually be too old to celebrate Halloween? A couple of years ago, Chesapeake, Virginia drew public attention when the news went viral. Only children 12 and under were permitted to celebrate Halloween by trick-or-treating. Right. But Chesapeake is not the only one with the age restrictions. Other Virginia cities, what is it with Virginia? I don't know why it's specific to Virginia, including Newport, Virginia Beach, Suffolk, have all begun to institute age restrictions. And some had people from over the age of 16 being prohibited from having candy on the streets. But be aware, apparently, if you're in the Commonwealth of Virginia, there may be age restrictions. No porch lights, no treats, our next law. Most children and their parents understand that houses with porch light off and no decorations are not giving out Halloween treats using their common sense. People normally skip these homes. However, some places felt the need to write a law. So it's Forsyth, Illinois, says that visitors can only approach houses with exterior lights on, or they face up a fine of up to $750. So if you're doing ding dong dash on Halloween, a trick, obviously, that's $750 a ding dong dash in Forsyth, Illinois. Let's see. No Halloween on Sundays. And I'm not sure how this is pronounced. It's Delaware. And if you're from Delaware, call in and correct my pronunciation if need be. I think it's Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. You may want to pay attention to the calendar. Watch what day Halloween falls on. If October 31st is any day, Monday through Saturday, you can usually have a great celebration. However, if Halloween falls on Sunday, it is illegal to partake in some traditional celebrations. Move your plans to the 30th instead, and only trick-or-treat if you're under the age of 14. So here we have another age restriction in addition to no trick-or-treating on Sunday. This year, that's not an issue because it's on a Tuesday this year. So there was talk of some legislation possibly moving Halloween to whatever Saturday is closest, which would make a lot of sense, not being a school night and, just making life easier for parents. Next law in weird laws regarding Halloween, according to Justia, clowns aren't welcome. If you travel through, I believe this is pronounced Vendargot, France, during the Halloween season, think twice about your costume before celebrating. In this town, it is forbidden for those over the age of 13 to dress up as a clown on Halloween. It must be a really popular costume in France for them to pass a law regarding it. Not only that, it's illegal the entire month of November as well. So if you need to wear a clown costume for some reason during this time, you need to obtain special permission from town authority. I'm here to get my clown permit. I really want to wear my clown costume. All right. And take away your masks. What would Halloween be without masks? In some cities, you will most certainly find out. Many places now have laws addressing whether people may wear masks, accessories to hide their facial features. This one makes a little bit of sense just for safety reasons and, criminal activity. Walnut, California, Belleville, Illinois, and Dublin, Georgia. Notably, many of the laws were written before COVID-19 and may no longer be entirely acceptable. Yeah, that would be an interesting thing. So if you showed up with your COVID N95 mask on, how does that apply? You should always check your local rules. Be aware of the curfew. Now, this one's actually a good one. Some cities have strict laws ending trick-or-treating at 8 p.m. These include previously mentioned cities such as Newport, Bathurst, New Brunswick, Canada, Other cities such as Boston and Philadelphia have historically established Halloween schedules or suggested curfews. So you want to be aware of those as well. Next, stay away from clergy costumes, according to Justia. Costume shops have many options for you to choose from. Scariest, funniest, cutest costume. But if you live in Alabama, of course, Alabama would have this law. You may want to avoid ministers' costumes since the law prohibits fraudulently pretending to be a... Okay, I have a question. It's a quote. Fraudulently pretending to be a clergyman. So if you're fraudulently pretending to be a clergyman versus validly pretending to be a clergyman, you're just pretending to be a clergyman. That's the crime. I think there's some drafting issues with that statute, including dressing up as a nun, priest, rabbi, or other clergy. If you decide to risk it, you could face a fine of up to $500. How do you police that? So if they show up in a priest costume, do you have to carry like your degree or your license with you? I mean, watch out for the silly. Our next law, according to Hollywood, California, may be known as a place for partying and fun, but if your Halloween celebrations take you to Hollywood, be aware of silly string or spray streamers. The sale, possession, distribution, or use of this classic party staple is generally prohibited on Halloween. All right. So there you go. Some odd and weird Halloween laws for you to share and ruminate over this Halloween weekend. 877-943-9673. That's your live and local number. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show, and I am your host, Attorney Patrick Smith. All right. Next, we're going to go to Sergio in Brooksville. Sergio, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show.
Good morning, Mr. Patrick.
Hey, Sergio. How can we help?
So I have a couple questions. I was recently sold solar panels and promised a bunch of things about solar panels lowering and cutting my electric bill in half, and it has still yet to happen. I'm paying actually double now. I'm paying solar panel prices and my electricity costs almost at the same cost. I'm trying to figure out, they lied to me basically selling these solar panels, and I want to know what I can do to get rid of them. I don't want to pay for solar panels anymore. I don't want them, and this company I'm dealing with is impossible to get a hold of.
Sergio, this reminds me of a joke I heard years ago where a guy bought solar panels and installed them, and 1 year goes by, he doesn't pay the bill. A second year goes by, he doesn't pay the bill. Third year goes by, he doesn't pay the bill. Finally, the company sends a letter to him and basically says, it's been 3 years. You've had your solar panels. Why have you never paid this bill? And the guy told the attorney, he said, well, that's because the salesman told me they would pay for themselves. Yeah. I mean, that's the only solar panel joke I've got, Sergio, but I think you're going to have to look at the words on the page, that sort of four corners doctrine. It's going to be, what did they put in writing as far as what you agreed to do, what they agreed to do? Do you have a copy of that service agreement or contract?
I do, and the service, I guess the service contract says that it's going to cover up to almost 80% of my electric bill, which it's only covering up, I think, like 40%. It's not even covering, it's barely covering half of what they promised.
Well, listen to what you said.
And when
the contract says it will cover up to 80%. It doesn't say it'll cover 80%. It's letting you know it will cover no more than 80%, but it's not promising 80 based on just your description of the words. But if you want me to take a look at the contract with you, Sergio, get it over to me. I'll give you a complimentary review of it and give you my opinion on it. But it sounds to me, in your own phraseology, that they're within their rights if it does say up to 80%.
Okay.
All right, Sergio, I wish I had better news, but maybe there will be something else in the contract. So get it over to us and we'll give you a more definitive answer. Okay.
I appreciate it, Patrick. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sergio. Have a great Saturday. 877-943-9673. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith. 877-943-9673. Sergio hanging up does open up a line if you want to get on with Jose and get screened to ask your legal question today. 877-943-9673. Your number to reach us at the office, for those of you just joining us, the office line to set up your complimentary consultation in Sun City, Sarasota, Clearwater, Claremont, any of our office locations. 877-754-6764. Again, that toll-free office line, 877-754-6764. All right, next we're going to go to Dunedin and we're going to talk to Claudia. Claudia, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show.
Hello?
Hey,
yeah.
Claudia.
Hi.
You have
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. You have a follow-up to the Medicare question that we had from Ray?
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know that there's a class action suit going on in New York City about that. My sister-in-law is, involved in that, and apparently the city decided to switch over without the approval of everyone. So basically, I guess it made it to the courts, and I'm trying to think which court it was. But if you look up the city workers, it started with the teacher union, and they cannot do it. So if you could tell that gentleman that, I don't know how to get in touch with them, but there's a woman that's
You just told him, Claudia. I mean, he's probably still listening, but I'm going to have Peter the intern and Nate the intern, our Crackerjack research specialist here on the Attorney Patrick Smith Show, start researching that so that we can do a follow-up piece on that. And you know what? Maybe we'll just reach out to Marcy down at the Pant Wealth Management office and see if she can pop on next week to maybe address this directly. I'm sure that you and Ray aren't the only ones who are wondering about this. So it sounds like it might rise to the level of being segment worthy, Claudia, and we appreciate you calling in to follow up. Okay.
Yeah, it's all right. Thank you. It's a class action suit. They have a Facebook page, and it's all first responders in New York City.
Well,
so
we appreciate you calling in, and Peter the intern's already working on the research, so we will follow up on that. Okay.
Have a great day.
You too,
Bye.
Claudia. All right, you've been listening to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. 877-943-9673. That's your number for next week's broadcast. Write down your legal questions. Tell your friends about us. Again, to reach us at the law office during the week, 877-754-6763 for your toll-free office line to schedule your complimentary consultation, 877-754-6764, or email me, patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com. Patrick@attorneypatricksmith. My Gators prediction, I don't know. I got a feeling they're going to spoil it for Georgia. I'm going to go Gators 42, Georgia 40, today's game. Gators 42, Georgia 40. So, yeah, Gators in the over. That's what I've got. So this is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. Make sure you're back with us next week, live Saturday morning, and we'll be here to answer all of your legal questions. God bless you. Stay safe, and go Gators.
The proceeding was sponsored by the law offices of Patrick L. Smith, W282CI Tampa, W271CY Lakeland, W262CP Bayonet Point.
Online at letstalkfaith.com or listen on TuneIn.